How we doing, everyone? Good evening, good evening. Obviously, depending on where you guys are tuning in from, it may be good morning, it may be good evening. Hopefully everyone's had a good day so far, or at least has plans for a good day. Obviously, my plans for today is to really just walk through the markets, figure out what we're seeing, figuring out how we could tackle the markets, and I guess just have a chat with everybody, see how everyone's doing, but most importantly, obviously, answer any questions you guys may have to really provide that value. So, if you guys do have any questions or any markets you want me to check out, make sure to let me know. Just shoot me a little message in the chat, and also say hello, everyone. Everyone that's here, give me a little hello. But hi, Luke. Luke is not on the stream today. It's just myself. Although he may join us in a little bit. We'll see if we can get him on. I mean, for me, obviously Euro USD was the main thing we were looking at yesterday. I was quite excited to see what was going on with the market and what we could see, and what was really happening. And I believe, referencing back to yesterday's stream, price was kind of at this region. We'd seen this bearishness coming down. However, I did overlook one thing, and as I kind of went back, I figured out what it is. I figured out what I kind of overlooked. Obviously, there's quite a clear demand zone right here, which obviously I didn't initially identify, because I thought it was more logical for price to trade down after this reversal than trade up. However, it's good to be aware that it's there, because what could happen now is that as we've tapped into it, it just introduces that much demand to make a move higher. So I'm quite intrigued to see what's happening. We have had kind of like an accumulation down at the bottom of the range there. We've then had price making this move up, but whether price is doing this to make a move higher, or simply it's just a correction, is hard to tell. It is hard to tell exactly what that's going to be. All we can really do is watch price action and try to really figure that out. So, I mean, if we come down to the 5 minute, or even sort of like the 1 minute, if we look at price action, we can say, well, realistically, if we look inside of here, it's quite nice to see that we've had one demand zone reaction, we've had two demand zone reactions, and I was actually hoping for the third one at this point. But we can see, obviously, with the release of news at 3 p.m, we have caused the markets to go a little bit everywhere, and price has actually come to trade through that zone and start to move lower. So very interested to see what happens here with this new sort of bearish momentum. I am very, very intrigued. Obviously, now that we've got the break of this low, that is a bit of an indication that this bullishness has been invalidated. That is a break of structure. So I'm curious to know if what's going to happen here is that price is just going to start making this run lower. The reason why I don't like this fully is because there's no clear supply zone tap. There's no real reason as to why price has reversed here. Which obviously means we don't have that S&D back in the move. Although we do just have to take the market as it comes. So what we're really going to be looking at, now that we have penetrated that low, I'd love to see price coming back up into this region here. Just to see a little bit of a reversal, see the creation of a bit of a distribution on the lower time frames. Seeing how price reacts. I'm quite intrigued to see that, actually, but we will be patient and we will wait until price figures out what it wants to do in that scenario. But yeah, it's a waiting game. I think ultimately what's going to be even more exciting is the fact that we have kind of been quite range bound. There's not been a whole load of things happening in this region So it will be nice to kind of see how price reacts moving forward as we sort of move away. But ultimately, you know, following the liquidity, it would be great to see price make that move lower. So I'm hoping if we do make a move lower and we come to break this demand zone, that will actually probably mean that we are having that prolonged move lower. And what we can do with that is then start looking to get into those shorts that come and run this liquidity low, which I will be excited to see. But again, guys, if there's any markets you want me to have a quick check on, feel free to let me know. Let's just go down and keep an eye on the kind of price action that we're seeing here. Because obviously the liquidation, we can get rid of that zone. It's no longer valid. And the liquidation of that is obviously of pretty much high importance. Yeah, so we would really love to see price doing something here. You know, within this region, showing us a tap, a mitigation, a reversal would definitely be nice. Definitely be nice. So let's just make sure that alert's ready. Do we have any more news there? Let's double check on here. We've obviously had the CB consumer confidence, which is very close to what we expected, really. Obviously, it's a level of a composite index based on surveyed households, which, you know, is extremely close to what was forecasted. So, obviously, we're not too worried. We're not too worried because we look kind of like at the previous one here. The actual was quite different from the forecast, which is where you would start to get a little bit worried. You know, August the 29th, you see there's a big deviation. But what is quite good is since August, this is actually the highest number we've had. So I guess that gives, you know, us even more confidence that the dollar is a safe haven, you know, that people are going to be pumping into that. So I guess that kind of backs our moves even more, that we would love to see the dollar continuing to valuate higher. The JOLTS job openings. Okay, yeah, cool. That's obviously, again, positive news. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Seems like the dollar is going to be a strong one at the moment. Definitely don't want to be on the wrong side of the dollar. So I guess that as well, in my eyes, gives me a bit more confidence that this Euro USD market should go down, because, you know, if the dollar's so strong, naturally against the euro, it's going to cause the euro's valuation against the dollar to come down as well. So that's quite nice. Euro to Australian dollar potentially making a setup. Let's double check. I don't think I've analysed that market in a fair while. Let's double check. How you doing though, Euro? You all good? What you been up to today? Work. I guess it's 3:30, so if you're at work, I guess you would still be there. Is it a day off? Is it a chilled one? I've got an alert on Euro Yen as well, actually. Let me have a quick browse, actually. Let's add this into the watch list so we can pop back to this. Euro, Australian dollar. Yeah, throw that in. Cool. Euro Yen. Why have we just had an alert? Is the real question. Euro Yen. Oh, okay, yeah. I think I see why. We've obviously had a tap into this zone. However, I don't know how much confidence I have of a market like this continuing lower. I'm going to be completely honest. Yeah, we've had the move away from this. We've had the reaction here. All good, James, yourself? At work in a minute. Oh, okay, fair. Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, to be fair, mate. I just wanted to kind of hop on and do a little stream just to kind of look through the markets and make sure everybody was on the same page. Give people an opportunity to come in, ask some questions. But But yeah, I guess if you've not got any bookings in, you can just chill. But how is work going anyway? Because I know you've probably been there a while now. I think the last time I was in, you'd only been there a few months, maybe a couple months. But that's probably like a year ago now. So I imagine you're picking everything up pretty well. Euro yen, yeah, I'm actually kind of looking back on this now. And I don't believe we are going to move lower. I've kind of looked at some additional information last night, which if you guys don't use something like this, something I could introduce, it's called a sentiment viewer, or even here at on our website, the LAGFX website, we have something similar, like the heat map in the client area. Just wait for it to load fully. On the heat map, it gives you quite a good rundown, trading floor, of kind of what markets are moving quickly, you know, where the volume's at. So we can see in here something like, I don't know, the Australian dollar to US dollar has actually moved down by 0.47% already today, which to me is a pretty good indication that there's quite a bit of volume in the market. Anything else that's looking quite... Pound to dollar. Okay, yeah, the pound to dollar. Could be worth looking at. And you wanted me to look at euro to Australian. Okay, yeah, we've had a move up in that, so it looks like there's quite a bit. I wonder if the euro to Australian's in here as well. It is, yeah. Okay, so the sentiment on the daily looking bearish. Cool. We'll go take a look. We'll go take a look. Yeah, going well. Been over a year now. Yeah. It's mad. I mean, the year's gone that fast. It genuinely feels like only a couple of months ago that, you know, I remember seeing you there, watching over, getting that confidence in. But I see that you've obviously you've got some Insta pages going up for it, so obviously it's going pretty well. Okay, Euro Australian. I do actually want that to continue higher. And in all fairness, this is probably quite a nice time to look long. With this introduction, okay, I want to actually see this high get broken, just to confirm a little bit of bullishness. Because if we break this, we're showcasing that we don't want to react to the supply here, which means supply is not in control. So I'll come back to that in a second. We'll come back. Okay, Euro to Australian. I don't know. Okay, apparently I looked at this market a very long time ago. Damn. This is going back. When would this have been? This would have been, damn, August 2022. It's the last time I looked at it. Cool. Wow, this market is, it doesn't move a whole lot, does it? Fairs. Okay, so let's actually use what we've got in front of us. And what we have in front of us is we've kind of curved over, we've moved back up. We're clearly pretty bullish at the moment. In terms of the structure in here, impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse. So realistically, this is our protected swing. This is the final target where we'd like to see price go. And then I always like to use this blue box to kind of fully identify where that structure is. So what we know is that we're working in this bound, because this is the most recent leg of that bullishness. And then if we look inside of here, that's then when we kind of look then for any supply and demand which can back the move. You know, the first thing I would have looked at would have probably have been this zone, which we did have a small reaction from, where we potentially might have actually been caught out if, you know, we see that that's a nice accumulation. We've kind of started to shoot off, but then the move's failed and broken down. So if it's not going to be that there, we're likely going to be looking down into this sort of region lower, probably into a zone kind of down here where we can set an alert. The camera's like right in the way of that little bit of the screen, which is a bit of a nightmare. So it would be quite nice to see price coming into there. So on the daily, we're still bullish. And if I even kind of zoom out further real quick, is there any reason why price would want to reverse around here? Not really. If we're being honest, I mean, not really. So I'm going to expect that the bullishness will continue unless we get the break to the downside, just following structural laws. So, yeah, daily we're looking bullish, but obviously if now our expectations for price to come down here, if we now go down to the 1 hour, we can then say, cool, we've obviously got a bit of bearishness where, you know, we've had this impulse, correction, impulse. Okay, we've recently reversed. So it looks like what could happen here, if we identify some supply, just to see if supply is going to take over. Great British Pound to Australian dollar on fire. I had to place trade manually. Love that. Which side of the market are you on? Are you on the sort of bullish side, the bearish side? I mean, for me, there's no real reason why this would continue moving upwards, but even if it was, we're trading against this trend. So, yeah, for me to be getting involved, I'd love to see how price reacts to this supply zone. But at the same time, okay, yeah, this has kind of brought us down. If we fractalize that even further, we've had impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse. So I guess if price really does start to break us through this liquidity level, that's where I'm going to be watching. Right, well, does price either react from supply or does it start reacting from demand? And, you know, for me to believe it's reacting to demand, we're really going to want to see a move back into here. So basically what price is going to do, to round that up, is it's either going to kind of come through here, break that liquidity high, distribute at the top of the market before coming lower, or what I could really see it doing is either it's going to liquidate the high first, or it's not. Doing something like this, we accumulate, you know, whatever that may look like, and move higher. So I'm going to be quite intrigued to see exactly what happens here, but it's very much watching price when it approaches those zones to see if supply or demand seems a bit more dominant. So I'm quite intrigued to see how that goes, how that works. I mean, what's your guys' look on euro to Australian dollar? Euro, is it Kieran? I'm probably botching that. My apologies if I've got that completely wrong. Yeah, what are you guys thinking in terms of this market? Are you looking long? Are you looking short? We looking to buy? Looking to sell? Hit me with it. Hit me with it. But yeah, for me, it's going to be really watching what's happening here. Right, let's head back to euro to US dollar. See, oh, I just moved that alert. I did not want to do that. I did not want to move that. Where was it at? I think on top of there. Okay, 5 minute. Let's see what's going down. Okay. Yeah. Again, it's going to be a bit of a waiting game in this example. Okay. Let's see. If we put this down here, and what it could be worth with me doing is just doing a full top down on a market, because I understand a lot of you guys, when you watch me analyze and you know, my brain working on the markets trying to figure out what's going on, I've already kind of done my full top down, so I know in the back of my mind what my story is. So I think what we actually might do here is just completely redo this Euro US analysis, just so you guys can actually see why I'm looking for what I'm looking for, really. You know, why am I actually looking for the certain thing? So let's just do it. You know, we're gonna get rid of every single drawing on that market, and we're gonna reset this analysis, and we're gonna reset that bias. Definitely something I recommend. If ever you get a little bit confused with what the market could be doing, you know, there's a little phrase that we say, it's a bit cringy, but you know, nonetheless, which goes, if in doubt, zoom out. Okay, if in doubt, zoom out. So if you're a little bit confused with what's going on, just zoom out. Let's have a look. So obviously we can see back from 71, we've clearly had bullish structure, impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse, and we're in a correction. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to identify the most recent impulse in the structure, and we're going to draw a blue box to identify that as the structure. We then look inside of the blue box and we say, right, well, where would we have identified, given that price was all the way back here and we knew it was about to come down, where would we then identify zones? And I mean, obviously the first zone we're going to identify is down here, and that's quite a clear sell before a buy, and this buy candle is really pushing and blowing through that region, which is a clear representation of demand being created. If we then look at what's going on, we've then taken off. Yeah, perfect. And then I'd imagine we leave some kind of footprint in this region. Obviously, I can see that here we've had a bit of a reaction, but even at this zone, I'm quite confident there's also levels of demand. And then, you know, of course, as price was playing out, we would have waited. You know, we would have seen what's going on. We would have actually had an initial tap and potential entry, you know, all the way back here, which was 2010. You know, I was nowhere near old enough to trade back then, but we can see after we did identify it, we did have the initial tap where you definitely could have been profitable because price did take off, but ultimately it wasn't ready to continue. So we broke down, which leaves me with the expectation that surely price will want to come and mitigate this next zone lower. So we're going to be working within the assumption that the price wants to come and hit this zone. You know, I'm going to be working under the assumption that price wants to come down and hit that zone. If we then go to the monthly and we really look to identify, right, well, since creating this correction, this bearish correction, we can see we've obviously had impulse, correction, impulse, correction. That's an entire impulse. That's your correction. That's your impulse. Now, yes, we can draw this entire thing. Let me just control set that. Yes, we could draw this entire part as our impulse. It kind of just takes up a lot of the screen. It wouldn't make sense for price to come above this while still also holding structure, because, you know, we can see price has quite clearly reacted to that zone there before moving lower. So I'm actually going to refine it to this little region in there. Yeah, and it comes down to this point. Now, we go down to weekly, and they're going to look inside of here and say, right, well, you know, ideally, because we want price to be coming down here, we need to try and figure out when it's going to make that move. And if we then kind of look at where I would have identified supply zones, I would have identified this. I would have identified also this here, definitely, as a buy to sell. And I probably also would have identified, no, because that comes back up. Yeah, so these are the two zones I would have identified right off the bat as where I'd like to see price sort of coming into. You could argue that we've had a little bit of a reaction to this first one here because, you know, we've entered it, we've seen price as we have entered it to reject. If we come down to something like the daily time frame, you probably even could have found a lot of positions to enter here because we have seen a bit of a distribution and price start to move lower, but we've then continued that sort of bullishness up until we eventually came to break structure at this level, okay, which is going to be a break in structure to the downside. Now, as a result, if we're going to break structure to the downside, we're then going to make the assumption that price is going to want to come back up to mitigate a zone, of course. So where would those zones lay? They would lay kind of in this region. Maybe we can go down to 4 hour to get some additional input. Yeah, that looks perfect. And then the other region I would have probably looked at, it's probably this here. You know, it's quite a clear buy region. And as we bring that across, we can now see, I'm awful for this, I keep moving these alerts. We can now see that from where we've drawn that box, price has actually come up and hit into it. And as we've hit into that, we can see we've started to break down. You know, we have started to then make some moves lower. We've started to break down a bit, which I guess you could argue is a suggestion that we're ready to make some moves. We've had a bit of a liquidation of this zone here. Liquidity, that's broken through. So now realistically, if we go to something like a 1 hour or even 15, okay, let's work backwards. We have supply here, which we've reacted to. That's more of the reaction. And then as we continue to come up, is there anything I'm missing in terms of supply? Yeah, defo this region here, which makes sense as to why the alert was up that region. And then if we zoom out and drag this across, that's then going to leave me with a potential zone at this point to see price sort of trade us back up into to continue going short. Now, does that mean it definitely will do that? No. But I do understand that that is an unmitigated order, which it would be quite nice to see, you know, get mitigated. And then as we come into this region, you know, we've had the break here. We had price kind of tap into this buy. But one thing we still haven't mitigated, I don't believe, is this zone here, because that misses it. You know, that does slightly miss it. So yeah, I guess the bias here to kind of work backwards. We want to see price following the bullishness, you know, by reversing in this zone, and therefore we're expecting that this correction will take us down into the zone. As we go to the monthly, we can then identify the most recent leg of the bearish correctional wave, and obviously we want this bearishness to continue until this zone's hit. We then go to the weekly. We can then look inside of this actual region for some supply and demand zones, obviously in this case supply, and really see where prices started to break down as of recent. And inside of here, again, we've recently seen a reversal, a liquidation, and a little bit of reasoning as to why we could see price work into the downside. But again, we need to see some quite obvious signs, because I'm always going to be concerned that this is definitely an area of demand, and I want to see price failing through this. Now, I want to see demand failing, because if demand is being reacted to, supply is clearly not as in control as we'd like it to be. So, yeah, for me, this is a bit of a waiting game to see how price reacts to these regions. So I won't place a trade probably until tonight, if not tomorrow morning, when I have a bit of a clearer idea of what the market's doing. So yeah, this is really going to be a waiting game. So we're going to want our alert up here, or we're going to want an alert down here at the break of structure. Perfect. The other thing I'd like to look at is the dollar to the yen. I do want to check out the dollar to the yen here, just because we are sort of within this consolidation period. Now, I know longer term, price is coming to liquidate this high. You know, no matter what, price is coming to liquidate this high up here. And that's the expectation I've got for this market. But then it's obviously a case of, well, when do we start to get involved in longs? And to me, if we start to see price pushing past this high, that's when we're going to be looking for longs. Or realistically, even after this high, I'm going to start looking for longs. Or we could even see price trading us down into, you know, one of two demand zones. before we sort of see that reaction back up. So it's really just a waiting game. I mean, this is pretty close to hitting. We're probably only a couple hours away from seeing something on this. And for Euro USD, obviously, this is really just a waiting game. Seeing what price does here. It's still holding within that region, and it's not giving us anything, you know, that I would class as very tradable. But again, that's fine. That is fine. Okay. Now, do you guys have any markets you would like us to have a little browse over? You know, have a little talk through, have a little discussion about, see what they're saying, see how it looks. Make sure to fire them in, and we can definitely make that happen. But as of now, it's a waiting game. It's a real waiting game. I tell you what, I was actually doing last night is there's so many crazy indicators. There is so many crazy indicators. Moving average, convergence, divergence. You know, I remember that when I was newish, I remember watching videos on the moving averages, like when you see a you know, like a crossover, it can mean to sell. Yeah, it's crazy how much I've moved away from old trading strategies and style. It's quite funny because I remember when I looked back in my own analysis, and I wonder if I can even get some photos up for you guys. Hopefully I can. I'm really hoping I can get these photos up of some really old analysis, just to show you guys how I used to view the markets back in like 2021. Let's see. Okay, we're going to be getting quite close to it now, I believe. Let's just slow it down a little bit. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Like start of 2021, I believe. That's my analysis right there. Can I bring that across? I think I can. It's not like, oh god, it's not liking it, is it? Whoa, okay. Yeah, it doesn't like that one bit. Let's quickly drag it across and you guys can see some old analysis from myself. Wow. That is how I used to trade. That is how I used to trade. It's crazy. Used to just do like ascending channels, descending channels, support, resistance. Damn. It's the end of an era. What a change. But it's always quite funny. I don't know if anybody else does that, but kind of like looks through their old analysis to figure out what they do, X, Y, Z. I don't know. I'm somebody that does it quite a bit, to be fair. I am somebody who does do that. Okay. Let's have a look real quick. Go into here. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. How are we kind of looking on this market? Still looking at this bullishness. I do still want to see when price breaks this, so we can move upwards with it. What I may as well do for anyone here is it's probably worth me kind of mentioning a way that people need to start viewing structure. Okay, there is a way that we need to view structure in the market that kind of deviates away from price just moving up and down and up and down and up and down, however it does its thing. Because yes, the market does move up and down, but there's a reason why, and each move kind of has its own reasoning. So we have to realize that within a move up and a move down, okay, which is one sort of cycle in the market, you've got impulse correction. It's an impulse correction pair. There's a couple of things that's gone down here. And there's a few different stages that we're working with. So obviously, starting off down here is stage 1. This whole region stage 2, this region stage 3, and this region is stage 4. Stage 1 down here is basically representing an accumulation, which is when price is at the bottom of a market, and you're typically going to see something along the lines of this. And you'll notice it's quite obvious for a few things. The main thing that makes an accumulation quite obvious is what we call the spring, which is the manipulation of the trading range to the downside. And it's typically a very high volume move that brings us down and pushes past these boundaries. And then we're instantly followed by a big markup. What then happens, if we get rid of that, is the market, of course, then starts to just move higher. You know, we maybe have small pullbacks, but we continue to move higher. Eventually, the market stops moving up, and we start to climax, and we start to really get to that level where we have a distribution. Okay, which obviously then looks something along the lines of this. You know, again, that's quite notable by the up thrust, which comes to clear liquidity to the upside, which is what's happening inside of that region. And if we move this out of the way, after we've then had the distribution at the top of range, that's when we see the markdown coming in. The markdown then eventually just back into another accumulation, which again we said is quite notable by that big spring, where we then continue in an upwards phase. So the whole upwards and downwards movement of the market is in stages. You know, we've either got the stage where we've got a schematic being formed at the very peak or the trough, which is where we're having the weak to strong hand transfer, which is where, you know, the institutions are getting very active in the market to start executing positions, manipulating people into losses, really taking control. And then, you know, with these markups and markdowns, and this example of markdown is where the market is in full control. You know, the institutions place their positions inside of here. They then just let market run with their profits, you know, so they can obviously benefit. But you'll notice that what we're really looking to do is we're getting involved in certain pullbacks. You know, what's typically happened with this pullback here is there's been some sort of supply zone that we've tapped into before moving lower. The only downside is sometimes when the market is caught up in this big down move, it's quite hard to get involved in positions. Just because the market's moving so quickly, there's never that much of a pullback into a supply or demand zone. And therefore, what we need to do is we need to actually figure out a different way to trade these markets. Another thing that's worth noting is within this alone, we've had the same thing where we've had a distribution, a markdown, that accumulation, and a small markup. So this does happen fractally over and over and over. You know, maybe a way that I could even draw this out if we get rid of all this drawing off the screen, make it look a bit nicer. You know, the way that a market would kind of look is, you know, on the high time frame, we're going to see price doing something like this, where, you know, we've got quite a clear upwards trend. We can stop it there. What will then happen is inside of that, there's more structure to create this move, which comes to make the move. You know, you then have your distribution. We continue moving in that kind of manner. We have the accumulation. Let me just get price recovered back into that region. Like we said, a distribution, so on and so forth. Okay, and we can even put this in blue. But then what's happening is, even inside of the blue structure, we have even more structure where, you know, we've got the uptrend, we've then got that distribution inside of here, the downtrend, accumulation inside of there. You know, we've got structure, distribution, structure, accumulation, you know, so on and so forth. You know, we can easily get lost in drawing that, but this is pretty much how the markets work. You know, it's happening fractally. So even within a move we look at in one time frame, when we go lower, the structure inside of that, when we go lower, the structure inside of that, and this happens. You know, this could go down again and again and again, almost infinitely. You know, because we could go from like a 1 year time frame to a month to a week to a day to an hour to a minute to a second. You know, and each time we're working down, we're just revealing more and more information. So understanding that the market is fractal is how we can actually get involved in positions, because, you know, yes, we may not have found an entry on the red structure, but if we went down to a lower time frame, we could have found an entry on you know, the lower time frame structure. And let's get rid of all of that. And let's reset where price is, just to see if the market has really done anything whilst we've been away. No, that's okay. It's pretty much just chilling where it's at. That's cool. And then in terms of dollar yen, yeah, we've got a bit of a takeoff. That's good. We've introduced a bit of momentum, which is exactly what I wanted to see. Exactly what we like to see. Perfect. Yeah, anybody else got a market they'd like us to look at? Make sure to let us know. Make sure to let me know. And we'll give it a little analyze. Hopefully that's a pretty nice insight. You know, I've done my full top down there on Euro USD. I kind of explained a little bit in depth in terms of structure, you know, the cycles of structure, the fractalization of structure. Because you have to understand everything works on a multitude of time frames. Things are happening all the time on different time frames. You know, what we see on one time frame is not the way it would look on a different one. Because, you know, even to put that into perspective, on the 4 hour here, we're kind of looking at that like that's not tradable. But if we went down to the 5 minute, we can see that, well, actually inside of here, we've had entire trend. We've had entire uptrend, distribution, entire downtrend, accumulation, with plenty of trading opportunities that have, you know, kind of arisen for us. We can even see how price has, you know, come back up into these regions. I'm just seeing, you know, just out of curiosity, I probably would have identified that. I don't think there's anything else that looks that nice. Curious to see if there's any form of reaction to this region in the market. There is, yeah. We'd look inside of here. Okay, Brill. We could replay. Go down to probably about the 30-second. Just see how price has reacted. Okay, we've had that structure come in. We've had the break. And realistically, we could have just got involved on the break with a short position, and then I wouldn't really have wanted price to come back up past here. If we wanted to be even safer, maybe stop loss there, but I wouldn't have wanted price to come past here, so we'd probably add a pip just to be safe. And then in terms of like profit wise, we'd at least be expecting price to kind of break that previous low down here. However, I'd still be quite cautious, and I would be looking to partial, probably partial here, and then I'd start to trail my stop loss from that point. So yeah, I would partial here. I take 50% of the position off at, what's that, 20 pips. So that's like 2 RR. So we take half the position off there. And I'd then start to trail my stop. So for example, once we start to break down here, all right, no, I wouldn't have tried my stocks. We would have been taken out. We would have partialed. When we partial, stop loss at break even, so that would have been like a 1 hour. But point being, even though on the 4 hour, if you were looking at this, you would be thinking, wow, that's untradeable, there's nothing going on. If you actually then go down to lower time frame and you fractalize the market, you'll realize that when a market looks really, really boring, there's a lot going on the lower time frames, which you know you can get involved with. You can get involved with. Let's take a quick peek. Perfect. Yeah, this is a solid one actually. If anybody here is not involved in the VIP chat, a little sneak peek. Oof, 6% currently on the Great British Pound to the Australian dollar. A sneaky little snapshot of some of the analysis that gets posted out to VIP clients. You know, they're obviously aware of what's going on in the market and where people are looking to enter, you know, where the traders are looking to enter. And clearly there's quite a nice move coming off the back of that, where you can see prices quite clearly making this move up. We can see that reversal out of bullishness, break of structure, tap back down into a zone. And what's really, really cool about this is even when we've had the tap, there's clear ways of entering. If we look kind of even on 30 seconds, where we've then broken structure. After that break, we've come back to tap in, give us that confirmation before then sort of exploding off and continuing up. You know, there's even a pullback down into this if you wanted to get involved, pull back down there. It is reacting to demand right now. That doesn't mean we're not going to get a pullback, but the fact it's reacting to a lot of demand is quite promising to see in the market. But yeah, let's just go back here once again. You know, the market's still pretty sideways there. With the dollar to the yen. Again, I really want to see it ideally breaking out of the range, just because there's no confluence of which side of the market this is going to go. There's really no confluence. So yeah, it's about keeping an eye right now. Massively about keeping an eye. You know, we could be inclined to say, cool, you know, we have actually broken that low there. Surely that's signs of bearishness, which, you know, I'm not going to deny that it's not. But on a higher time frame, we are within bullishness. So, you know, you've got to ask yourself, how much sense does it actually make for price to be doing that? Again, if anybody's got any more markets you want us to take a look at, or, you know, any questions, let me know. If not, we can kind of look to wrap up. I kind of got through what I wanted to there. Just kind of keeping my eye on euro to the dollar yen, doing a quick bit of analysis on that for today and seeing what we're expecting. You know, I'm never actually looking at structure below the 15 minute. But even here, this does look like it should be an up move. You know, just looking at the structure, it does look like an accumulation. It does look like it should be an up move. Dollar yen, if we kind of just look at price action, again, it does really look like this should be. Could be either. Could be either. Perfect, guys. No, nobody else has got any markets they want us to take a peek at. So I think this is going to wrap it up for today, guys. Hopefully, again, you've had fun kind of chilling, having a look through the markets with us, looking how we would actually look to tackle these markets, how I analyze XYZ. I am quite excited to release my new series over on the YouTube, because there's a lot that I'm holding off of saying in this live stream, because I don't want to start introducing the new kind of tactics I've been implementing until you guys have that education there. Otherwise, you're probably going to be wondering. I guess I can give a little insight into what that kind of looks like. It's how we can get involved in markets when they're extremely aggressive. So, you know, for example, I think even on the, which market was it? There was a market that was a great example of this. Maybe it was a Euro Australian. Yeah, like when a market goes through a phase, for example, here, where it's really, really aggressive, there is ways to get involved, and we're looking for a chart pattern that looks something along the lines of this. And you can see that we actually find things like that quite often. For example, we've had impulse correction. We've had that there. We've even had it, if we get rid of that, we've even had it, where else? Even kind of had it here where we've had the move down, the move up, across, onwards. As of right now, I'd be waiting to see it again. Oh God, I didn't realize I'm drawing on. ICIs, yeah, Euro knows. ICIs. I'm guessing you keep up with MentFX, Euro. I'm guessing you watch a few of these videos. That's something I've been practicing the markets now for a little bit of time. But they make so much sense. They make it works so much. Yes, MentFX is literally the person I've watched for the past 2-3 years. He's the person that literally got me into smart money concepts, the person that I learned from. So yeah, wanted that massively. But what you'll notice is over the past like 2 years, MentFX's content has diversified quite a lot, where he initially just started teaching about simply just Wyckoff and then S&D, and now most recently the ICIs. You're in his mentorship, that's class. That's very good. You'll learn a lot in there with those private seminars. He's got a lot of exclusive videos on there. That is the best place to be. That is the best place to be. How valuable do you find it? Or what's your favorite part about the mentorship or about what he does? What would you say? But I'm sure he's been trading for 10+ years. You know, he's got a good 10+ years behind him. I've just noticed that the camera froze, didn't it? We're back. We are back. I can imagine it's valuable though, being inside of there with the knowledge he would give. I can imagine that is very, very valuable. But yeah, the ICIs are game changing. I've got to say, I've back tested it quite a lot, especially in certain market conditions, especially kind of more recently with the. I mean, this is kind of where I was back testing it actually. I was back testing it quite a lot there. This makes sense. I keep getting, because I've got $2 yen markets. I've got $2 yen markets, and I forgot which one I did this analysis on, but this makes sense. Yeah, I did some back testing here where I think I got 1.65 and -1. There's something inside of there. I can't remember what that one ended up coming to. I think that was another loss, actually, a -1. This was a +425. And then, yeah, I'm reminding myself now I was seeing this region as a reaccumulation for us to go higher. That makes sense. I think it's all just so simple to follow. I like how it's all step by step. Yeah, spot on. If you don't get something, you've missed something. Yeah, literally. So this is where my analysis went. This makes sense now. This is what I was looking at. And I was basically saying that I want to see this level liquidated, and then once it is, I'm going to be looking for those ICIs again, because I believe kind of looking for them now is a little bit preemptive. There's not enough confluence in the trend, or not enough context. The price is going to move up. So yeah. Cool. I think that is going to wrap it up today. Obviously, thank you guys for hanging out. Uri, enjoy the rest of the work. Hopefully it gets a bit busier. Hopefully all the time put into learning, it is worth it in the end. Yeah, 100%. It's a long journey. I think one trap people fall into is that they try to, they just try to become great really quick. And unfortunately, like, that's not really how Forex works. You don't become great really quickly. That's not the crack. In any sense. Yeah, it's a lot of time back testing, a lot of time doing demo accounts. You've got to back test, no matter if you're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years in, back test. That's what I typically do on an evening. Pardon me, is back test a little bit. Get a good idea of how the market's reacted in the past, how to get used to it. Yeah, as long as you back test and you've got that proof from back testing that you can be profitable, it's happy days. It's genuinely happy days. Yeah, it's the right way to go. Going for mentorships, learning from other people that have been doing it. That's how I learned. Luke has obviously now been doing it for seven years. So I learned from somebody who had the experience. Yeah, no, definitely not a get rich quick. 100% not. 100% not. How often do you look at the markets and kind of analyze them? I guess obviously with work, it must be quite difficult to do it around work. Like, is it a case that it's just when work's a bit quiet, you get a chance to have a quick browse? Do you dedicate any time to it? I do actually need to call this number back, actually. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to quickly call this number back. However, as I said, thank you everybody who tuned in today. Uri, enjoy the rest of work. I'm sure you've not got long left, right? 4? What time did you finish? Like 6, half 6? Hopefully it picks up for you though. But obviously keep up the work. I'm pretty sure I've seen your Insta maybe tagged on one of the pages, and obviously it all looks pretty good. It's all coming together, so keep it up. Are you on Telegram? It's probably worth shooting me a message on Telegram, because obviously I'm really looking at the moment to collaborate up with other people in Forex, people who even still are quite new into it, but are very ambitious. I always love to get in calls with people and kind of like relay that information. Look how somebody's looking at the market. And we can even potentially feature you on something like the content we're looking at doing. Yeah, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. I don't know what time it is for everyone, obviously. If it's a bit later on, hopefully you're unwinding for the day. But if it is early, go out there and seize it, guys. Go out there and be productive. I'm going to sit down after this, edit a video, do more analysis, and get some more stuff done. Sounds good. I'll be in touch. Legend. Right, guys, I've said bye 5 times. I'm actually gonna mean it this time. We'll probably see you tomorrow. More than likely do another live session tomorrow, very similar time. Probably around that sort of 2-3 p.m. mark. So if you want to kind of diary that in and know what we're doing and when we're doing it,